Welcome everyone to Treasures with Tamara on Thursday. And I'm Tamara Hermes, as most of you know, although this is also live on my business page for those of you who don't know me as well. I am the founder of Wealth Warrior Woman. I'm guiding women to become financially free through real estate investing. And for that reason, I frequently like to find amazing guests that can come on, like we have today, Michelle Cooper, who is just an extraordinary woman, very knowledgeable, not only with mindset, but with money, but also being a CPA and a profit first professional, someone who actually really knows how to work with numbers. Because a lot of times, we have these manifesting opportunities where we're, inviting money in and doing all the work, but we really don't know what to do once the money comes into our account. And that's a big piece of it. And Michelle is a master of marrying these two. She's written several books. She runs a very successful practice in Canada, but has clients all over the world. And without further ado, let's get started. I know it takes people sometimes a few minutes to get on, and you'll be joining us. You can always watch the replay, of course, if you are welcome. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Tamar. It is so good to talk to you and your audience and about a subject that I love, which is women building wealth. Yeah. I don't really care how they do it. Obviously, you specialize in real estate, but women building wealth, I think, is really important subject. So yeah, I appreciate the work you're doing.
Yeah, and there's so many things I want to ask you, but because you have this unique, I know we're going to talk about mindset and you're going to help us with some tools on that, which is great. And also with your unique ability to understand, how to work numbers. If I'm someone that it gets overwhelmed by doing the actual accounting and keeping track, what are some simple things that I can do to organize my business better? And, with real estate, we have a lot of numbers coming in and out.
Yeah. So the best thing you can do, anybody out there, is to get some support, right? So I really believe that bookkeeping is the lowest cost with highest yield on ROI for your time that is out there, like hands down, right? What could cost $200 a month and save you a ton of hours, right? So that's kind of like my first go-to. If somebody is really like, no, I want to do it myself, make sure that you get some good software, right? So we kind of promote or recommend QuickBooks Online just because it's so versatile, and it is a really powerful software suite. Really user-friendly, but there's other options, right? Zero, Wave, there's a couple other things that you could use. The great thing is that now we're in a place with technology where we can integrate some of these other pieces in our business software-wise. So with QuickBooks Online, you can integrate your banking, you could integrate other software like Stripe. If you use any kind of proposal or engagement software, you can integrate that. And so it becomes a seamless system. And the only thing I would say is if you want to do it yourself, which is totally cool, get it set up right from the start.
Okay.
So pay somebody the $500 that it costs or whatever it is to get your book set up with a good chart of accounts, because a lot of times when entrepreneurs are creating their books, they don't understand the chart of accounts and assets, liabilities, equity, and they get their chart of accounts all mixed up, and then it becomes a little bit of a hornet's nest to sort out. So get it set up from the start. It's really not a lot of money, and it will set you up for success.
And then do you find, this kind of goes into the mindset, I think a lot of people, when they have a certain amount of money or they're starting to, collect a comfortable amount, it feels vulnerable to have someone in your accounting. But it's something that I've had to get used to. That's why I'm bringing it up. But what a lot of experts continue to tell me is that and I've seen this now, but that people don't really have access to get to your money. Like they can't hijack your account.
Yeah, no, our levels of security are so high, right? So you can have your banking connect to QuickBooks and have a bookkeeper, and they're not even in your banking, right? Uh, the bookkeeper would need like your statements, right? So even now with banking, you can have delegate access set up for a bookkeeper or an accountant, and that way that person can only go in and get statements. They can't actually do any transactions. And
Mm.
it's a process, right? Like you have to build trust with someone. And so often, like in my business Alchemy, we start, sometimes if somebody doesn't feel totally confident, we'll start with, okay, well, just send us the information, right? We're in your books. You can we don't need access to your bank or your Stripe or your this or that. Send us the information, and we build that trust, right?
Right.
So we need to, it's confidential information. It's sensitive information, but really, if you're working with a trusted provider, and that's the key, right? A trusted provider
Mhm.
will have security set up.
Right.
So I remember I had a new client come in, and he was like, I went over to pick up some paperwork from my bookkeeper and saw like my bank statements on her coffee table, and like her kids are coloring, and there's all this stuff everywhere. And so what happens is that breaks a trust, right? So you
Mhm.
want to make sure you have a trusted provider that has a firewall, that has dedicated office space, that takes these things seriously.
Yeah, and I love that just because trust is such a big thing. I mean, in any business, but especially in real estate, because a lot of the investing that we do, we have partners. When we want to grow, when we want to expand, generally, larger deals aren't done on our own. And we need people to, you need someone doing the management. You need someone finding you properties. You can't do it all alone. So trust is such a big thing. And I like the way you say, because obviously, like having somebody in your, involved with your banking, that's a big trust thing, but it's a critical one, like you said. I'd love for you to also share, like, I want to get into, because, I know we have limited time with you, and I really want to get into some of the jewels about how you talk about opening up your money house. And I really want people to begin to do that, because I think it also has to do with, when we're doing transactions and when we're building our business, it's just how fast we're willing to speed ahead when we're not stopped by the fear of what could happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and really I believe that we need to create a good relationship with money, right? Money is energy, and there's really no value in that piece of paper. The value is what we place on it, like the service we provide or request, or the property we purchase, right? That's the value of it. And so it really is about like cultivating this relationship with money. And the thing that gets in the way is our history, and that's our limiting beliefs. So as children, we absorb experience, right? And our brain records that as evidence, right? It records it as memories. And so if we saw an interaction, maybe like whenever our parents argued, it was about money. So then it becomes a situation of money means conflict, right? And we carry that forward into our adult lives. And the scary thing is that we pass that on to our kids usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So in identifying what you believe about money, and that's just simply, it might just be writing it on a piece of paper, right? Like, what do I believe? I believe that money's hard to make. I believe that I have to work really hard. I believe that as fast as it comes, it goes. Just write out what you think about money, and then look at it and go, is that limitless, or is that limited and based on fear?
Mhm.
Right? Because if it's based on fear, then when you go to purchase a property and grow your wealth through real estate, you're going to be in that fear, and you're going to limit the possibility for yourself,
Mhm.
right? And as we start to make new decisions about money and how we and like build our relationship, cultivate that relationship, what we find is that money starts to flow more freely, right? At the same time, that what I think is a little bit different about me is that I believe in the energy of money and the manifestation of money. However, I also know that you have to be a good steward of money. So you have to look after it, right? For it to flow to you, into you, and away from you, you have to look after it. So you have to be looking at your bank account. You've got to be looking at your credit cards and how much you owe and how much you spend, and it's actually a really empowering process
Mhm.
when you engage in it in a positive way and an empowered way, that you're actually cultivating a better relationship and at the same time growing your wealth.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the integration piece, and I like the piece where you combine them, you open yourself up, and but yet when you're managing it, and I do find too, it's like sometimes if I'm stressed out about a deal or something, I just go through the numbers again. I need to like analyze, okay, well, this is going here, this is going there, this is how it looks, this is how I'm mitigating risk, this is what's going to happen. This is, and obviously you can't know everything with a real estate investment, but what it enables you to do is to feel like you have some sense of organization and control over, like you said, over the money that you have. So that
Yeah.
you're not just like throwing it out. It's not like you go and you go, oh, there's nothing left in the bank account, especially in a market like that we have today where there's volatility. And if we're purchasing properties, we need to make sure that we have extra reserves in accounts in case something, in case the renters don't pay, which
Totally.
a lot of us have had.
Yeah,
Recently.
absolutely. Like I think about the real estate market for like investment properties and the struggle, and like there was support out there for some people, like at least in Canada. I'm not sure about the United States for renters, but in
Mhm.
Canada they introduced a rental subsidy, and so that provided a little bit of support, but I can imagine that a lot of property owners struggled.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's actually not over. We're actually in the midst of it, and it's part of the reason why we're predicting such a big crisis to happen, which is that we're in a moratorium right now where the government said not, tenants can stay if they need to stay, and no evictions can happen if you can't pay your mortgage. So you have all these, people are kind of kicking the can. They're not forgiving it. It's not just a grant, it's a loan. So basically, it's basically to me, it likens like, adding money on a credit card that you can't afford to pay off. So to
yeah.
me, it's not a great solution. I personally wouldn't use it unless, I mean, actually, I don't have that many, I have one non-performing tenant. And I just paid the mortgage. And actually, I was very lucky because they ended up leaving only because I think they didn't realize they could stay and not pay. So that worked in my favor. But the thing is that, yeah, in terms of how like we don't get panicked about
Mhm.
that's still a lot of the reason why a lot of people won't do deals because they are afraid of something like this happening.
Yeah, so that panic response, right, is it puts your nervous system into sympathetic nervous system response, which is fight or flight or freeze, right?
Right.
And that's where we don't want to be around money or around anything really, right? But especially around money, right? We want to be relaxed. We want to be in that rest repose energy, knowing and trusting that what is happening for our greatest evolution, our greatest prosperity, our greatest capacity for growth. And it may not look the way we think it's going to look, but ultimately it's happening for us, right?
Right. And I think that that's a great concept that we should embrace because if we do that, then not only does that work for for any level that you're at, really. I mean, it works for if you're starting out in real estate or if you're just starting a business or whatever it is, right? That you need to, that even when you're growing, even at a level where you're blessed, and you have a lot of resources, what do you do to continue that to go to the next level?
Right. Yeah.
And I find that that's constantly, a constant challenge because, there is always this feeling of, when you have memories of not having money or of fears around money, that you're right, that trigger just automatically comes in, and we need to kind of stop ourselves to check
Yeah.
in with ourselves.
Because it is scarcity and lack that's kicking in, right? And it's the fear response, and it's a natural response. There's a whole part of our brain that is just set up to keep us safe, even when safe is not necessarily where we want to be, right? So it's why people stay in abusive relationships, because it's safe to stay where you are. That for your brain, it knows how to deal with this situation. And so change is the unknown. And so it kicks in with a fear response, right? Which,
Right. Sure. And then, as we're even, I find that, as I get more and more, my financial picture gets more and more intricate with different kinds of investments. And I find that, as I get organized, I almost get a trigger of fear. Like, it's like, oh, I actually have this kind of organized,
right?
and even that is kind of weird,
Isn't
right?
that funny? Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's almost
Yeah.
like it's almost like my impulse is to resist it, like that. It's like, because I'm so used to the chaos of it all, and then
Yeah.
when it's not, I feel like I just I don't know what, I just don't feel
Well,
connected to myself. I
some
have to regroup to get there.
yeah. And sometimes it can be like almost like too good to be true. Like, have I really got my shit together? Like, this feels kind of weird. Like, I remember like when we first, back in, I don't know, March, April-ish, and we had, the whole world kind of, or our part of the world kind of shutting down. And um, my business actually was thriving because everybody had to get their financials in order to apply for loans and funding and all these things, right? So all these people coming along going, help me. Um, and I was like, hang on, is this actually happening? Like, there's parts of, business that are struggling, and I'm thriving. I have more business than I could handle. I had to hire all these people, which was great because I was able to give a whole bunch of people some jobs, right?
Right.
And that was awesome. And
Yeah.
then what I learned from working with my clients was that there could be, say in the fitness industry, right? There could be people who um, sell home gym products whose business is thriving, and in-person gyms tanking, right? So even within the same sector, and I'm sure, people in real estate, like, can't do any deals, all of a sudden they're stuck. Tenants not paying their rent, all of a sudden there's a problem. Perhaps there was people in the real estate industry who were thriving. I don't know, right?
Oh, the real estate industry is on fire right now. I mean,
Yeah.
people are very much so thriving. It's definitely a seller's market. It's insane what's going on. And it's been yeah, it's been very interesting to see how people adapt wherever you're at. Like you said, like, your business was thriving, my business was thriving, but many people weren't. But then maybe we're able to give people more jobs, or maybe maybe it's an opportunity to transition. Like, if maybe you had a gym, then maybe you are going to go online and make that work and take your clients online. My husband and I have been talking about tango lessons, and we might do those online.
How
So,
fun.
we're finding stuff that, that we can do, and that's, people are adapting. So I think that it's really, how do you tap into that place where you're not afraid of everything going well, and the money's coming with money coming in and you being able to manage it, or if even things don't work out, like maybe, you lose a little money, but knowing like the inside that you're moving that energy with the money, and that it's all for your greater good.
Yeah, so making powerful decisions about money. Instead, often we make decisions or we have affirmations to do things, right?
Mhm.
Like I'm going to, um, you know, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to check my bank. I'm going to balance my checkbook. I'm going to, whatever it is, right? I'm going to keep up to date with my bookkeeping. Um, Instead, we can make decisions about money, and we can make decisions about our wealth, and how we see ourselves
Mhm.
being with money, right? Like a way of being rather
Mhm.
than an action or a doing, which
Mhm.
can be a very foundational belief that can sit below the actions that we take.
Right. I love that. So, like, let's say, because a lot of times, our subconscious, like our feelings about money, a lot of times are from childhood memories. And so we're not even aware of them now because it's years later. But let's say there was somewhere in my mind where I felt like, I could only be so wealthy, or I could only have so much money. Right. And I'm not even aware of it, but I'm going through my life and maybe I'm holding back a little, of the reins.
Mhm.
And so how do I catch myself, and how do I start telling myself something different, and what is that new message about money that I begin to have that's underlying the action steps?
Yeah, so if somebody has a meditation practice, right,
Mhm.
or a journaling practice, or some kind of mindfulness practice, right, uh, to just ground yourself and ask, like, what do I believe about this,
Mhm.
right? Like, often there's some more subconscious beliefs around like having it all, or
Mhm.
having too much, being greedy, or something like that.
Mhm.
And you get to a certain level, and then it's like I can't get over that, because really it starts to feel a little uncomfortable, right? And what it is it's bumping up against a belief that you have about your capacity,
Mhm.
right? And so if you're a journaler, just like spend some quiet time, like, what do I believe about this? I think a great question to ask is, if I could snap my fingers and have everything I wanted, what would that look like?
Right.
And write that out, right? Or record it into your phone if you're not a writer, right? And then read it. And then the things that internal dialogue that comes up for you, like, oh, that'd be nice, but oh, well, that's nice for other people, but not me. That's the limiting belief, right? That internal voice is actually your limiting beliefs speaking to you,
Mhm. Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And then you can just make a decision, and it can be something of the opposite, right? So, for example, for myself, I realized fairly recently that I had a belief that I always had to choose, is an either or situation, not an and. So I can have business success or a relationship. I can have business success or my health. I can't have both. I can't have it all. Right. And
Yeah.
so when I thought about, well, like, if I could change my life, just snap my fingers right now, and it was exactly what I wanted, I would have it all. So then
Mhm.
what's going on there? Well, you have to choose. You can't have it all, which becomes maybe a little bit of like worthiness, or um uh like, do I deserve to have it all?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We deserve to have everything we want. Right? And in fact, what you see in your life is your reality. So the number of investment properties you have, that is an expression of what you believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
no, that's really yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And it's true because when you look at investors generally, they're a confident bunch, like real estate investors are not, you're not going to meet somebody that's like, oh, I was scared to call somebody. I didn't want to make the deal.
Right.
Didn't want to lowball the offer. Like most of them are just like, I go for it. I go for it. I go for it. And that's one of the things I love about the real estate investing world is that you are surrounded by people like that. And it is of like-minded. And also, once you become confident, you can afford to be, at a certain point, you start to realize that you can be generous regardless. And then you can contribute and you can do Wealth Warrior Woman and you can have,
Yeah.
you can support others that are on their journey. Because I know for me, for sure, I had a lot of mindset issues about, what I. Thank you, honey. That was my husband. Give me 100%. um, that I had a lot of mindset issues that I needed to get past, and it was it was a journey that I needed to push through, kind of like what you're talking about, like your reflection of how many investment properties you have. And I have friends that have 800 million under that they manage, and or they're sponsors of, and they'll even say, I get nervous when I do a deal because you take on bigger projects, you take on more responsibility, then you have investors to consider, so there's a lot of things, but like at every step you go, it's true. And I think that it's interesting, we tapped into something, why, because that's one of the questions I always ask myself, is why aren't there more women investing in real estate? Because we're only 30%. And I do think it's because women tend to more feel like we're not entitled, or we can only have so much. And then, you look at the world, and even like it's right in front of our face right now, right? It's like smack dab in our face. Like we have people that are right up there, up that can make decisions about our life, basically telling us that you cannot have it. You cannot have it. And so it is like for us for women to really stand up and be like, yes, we can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel, I think it's kind of common knowledge that, that energy of women is rising, right? Um, and and there is going to be a change, I think, for women that's going to be even more significant than what has already happened in our history, because it has been so many years where women couldn't own property. And there's places even now today that women can't own property, or women can't vote, or women can't, like, I remember watching a show, like it wasn't that long, it was like the 1920s or something, and a woman, oh, I know, it was it was a show on Netflix. It was about this African American woman in the South. I can't so it was like the 20s or 30s maybe, and she developed like a hair cream for African American women, and she had this business. The business had to be in her husband's name, because women couldn't own a business. And I'm like, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Right. And so there is a turning, but there's still a long way to go. And it's up to us, right? It's up to us to state what we want and get clear on what we want, and eliminate these limiting beliefs. Like there's evidence now that, these the mindset of money and wealth consciousness is genetically inherited. Like there's epigenetic research to show that. I
Wow.
just watched a video with Robert Kiyosaki, and he was talking about how we pass on genetically our wealth mindset to our children. And I was like,
Yeah.
holy moly, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's
And so,
powerful. It's very
yeah,
true because, I know that with my kids, they feel very capable and they're willing to work for money, and they're willing to like think about how it works and understand finances. And that comes from my husband and I giving them the opportunity to explore that and to feel entitled to that. And so it is interesting, like going back to how anyone can tap into this, which is that wherever you're at, to kind of like address what your story is, you know, it all comes back to that, but then make a decision. And I do think with women, you tapped on something very powerful, which is the focus. Because I do feel like women are more tentative about making decisions, and also do tend maybe more to keep themselves in a state of a little bit of a chaos, because the chaos is comfortable and the chaos is what we know. So like we don't do the accounting so that we have that, like we're always kind of like, well, I could if the accounting was all done, but it's not. Or I could buy more properties, but you know, like you said, that whole but.
Yeah, we create obstacles. Right? We're such powerful creators. We will create whatever we believe. So if we believe that we're at the upper limit of what's possible for us, then we'll create chaos around us that prevents us from moving forward. Right? And it's so interesting, because our brain, it's just so adept at creating like logical and very reasonable expressions of our fear.
Right, right. And that it all ties into money, because so much of it is tied into like our language about money and our ideas about it. And I know, even like, you know, like when I do deals, even sometimes I'll be really nervous and worried that I made the wrong decision, and, you know, and things like that can come up for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's fear, right? Fear is expressing itself as worry. And it sounds very reasonable. Right? But ultimately, there's some kind of belief in there about a limitation, or being at that upper place. There's a great book that people should read, foundational learning. I think it's called The Big Leap. If you
Oh
haven't
yeah,
read
I remember that book. It's quite good.
yeah. So it talks about your upper limit, and identifying your upper limit is key to moving beyond that upper limit and seeing the possibility. So,
Absolutely. And feeling like, you know, I think there is a point like where, you know, where you're in flow and things are good, and, you know, like, you know, I can just go to yoga right now and, you know, call it a day.
totally.
But the thing is that, you know, when we need to keep striving for, you know, for that next piece in order to grow. And like for me, it's about, you know, it went from, you know, can I do this? Okay, I can do this. Okay, what am I telling my children? You know, if I'm not, you know, like how am I participating in the world? And then I want to help others. And then I want to keep growing and growing so that I continually am an example, because we lead by example, not with talk, right? And we're learning that more and more. Like we lead by doing the things, and by the actions that we take that are the best illustrations. Like we look at somebody like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know, who, you know, was not only, I mean, she talked, but I mean, she was an action taker. You know, she was like, you know, she was out there doing it. And that's like, she left us a legacy of what's possible because of her action. She didn't just talk, she did.
Yeah.
She did it for a reason. She did it for a bigger vision of like what she believed, you know, human rights for women and equality for all would look like in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, that's why, like, it's a great example of like, there's the beliefs and there's the mindset and there's the manifestation work and all of the magic and the energy and all that stuff. And there's looking after your money.
Right.
Right. So it's not an either or, right? It's an and both are equally valuable. And when you put them together, it's phenomenal.
Right. I love that. Wow, what a beautiful, that's almost like a ta-da, like the perfect ending. I love that. Yeah, I'm definitely, you know, I'm definitely have learned to embrace that path and know how challenging it was, which is another reason why I just like love the work that you do, because like I said, you're not just doing the mindset, but you're actually combining this practical element, which is like you need to pay attention. So if I was going to go, if someone was listening and they want to go to like the next level in terms of wherever they're at, it sounds like one, it would be, if you don't have support right now, look at how you can hire support, knowing that
Yeah.
it's safe, that people cannot get in your accounting.
Hmm.
And then and then checking in with yourself, maybe with a little journaling daily to kind of check
Yeah,
in, like, what are the stories I'm telling about myself, right?
exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
good. And then, is there anything else that we should be mindful of?
Yeah, I think just, being clear about what you want,
That's good.
right? Like, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your wealth to look like? And once you have that clarity and you're in that place of possibility,
Hmm.
like you're not in fear, you're not in overwhelm, you're not in anxiety, um, then you'll be able to ask really powerful questions. And the answers to those questions will be your action plan.
Ah, that's great. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. And I definitely feel that. Like, I know I just, climbed a huge hurdle by actually moving during
Mhm.
COVID, cross country. And it was something I
Yeah.
really wanted, but I was like, obviously, there were hurdles along the way. And there was a lot of feeling like, in certain ways, I feel like I was using COVID as an excuse because sometimes when, my house in Los Angeles hadn't sold, they'd be like, oh, forget it. It's not a good idea. Nothing, it's COVID. And instead, it was a great example for myself, to say, don't let COVID get in the way of your life, because the truth is, like, we don't
Right.
know how long we're going to be here. And,
Mhm.
we don't know how long COVID's going to last. So, I mean, how much can you continue to take on all these great suggestions that you're giving, Michelle, and implementing them and moving on with your life and making things work for yourself the way that you really want?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Having the clarity is like understanding what's been holding you back, but also having the clarity of where you want to go is important, right?
Yeah, I
And
love
don't let
that.
things hold you back. Nothing's holding you back. The only thing holding you back is what's in your head.
Right. I love that. I love that. Now, also, if people need bookkeeping and want to work with you, you work with people all over
We
the
do.
world.
Yeah, so we're
So,
based in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada, but we do have clients throughout North America, into South America. Have a couple of clients in Europe, and we're able to support people anywhere. I have both a in person team in a brick and mortar office, as well as virtual team members, and we have a network of accounting professionals that can support people anywhere, really. So I'm extremely blessed to have amazing people
that's awesome.
supporting
And
my
if people want
clients.
to get in touch with you, we'll put your information, your contact information in the notes
Yeah,
below so that they can contact you, because definitely it's very important to prioritize the bookkeeping part and the accounting part of where our money is, and kind
totally.
of do a dance with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you have anybody has any questions or anything, they can always contact me. I'm happy to jump on a call and have a little chat or anything anybody needs.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for
And
having me. So much fun.
I got a lot out of this, and I'm sure that everyone that either joined us or watched the replay will got a lot of valuable information as well. I know we have a couple of great notes in here, and
Great.
thanks again.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been so awesome, and you're doing great work in the world. I want to thank you for the impact that you're creating.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.